Let's get started today in child's pose. So when you're first coming into your child's pose, you might find it helpful to start with your knees a little bit wider than your hips. This tends to create a little more space in the hips and the low back. Of course, if you find that it's constricting to you to lower your hips down towards your heels, you can leave your hips high. Sometimes that feels a little bit better, but allow your head to release down onto something, either the mat or your hands or a yoga block, so you can really just start to release down into the mat so that you're not holding any tension anywhere in your body in an attempt to try to keep yourself upright. So we want to just give that feeling of getting all of our weight to the mat. And then once you settle in, start to close your eyes or maybe just lower your lids and let your gaze soften out. And bring your attention to your physical body. Start to notice what sensations are present. Beginning with whatever feels most obvious. So for a lot of us, those are going to be those places where our body's making contact with the mat or any props that we might be resting on. And as you start to settle in, you may find that your attention starts to naturally gravitate to those places where there's some tension in your body, maybe some tightness or some restriction. Just notice what's present. Starting to shift into that observational frame of mind where we're not constantly fidgeting to remove any discomfort, but just starting to observe what arises in the body moment by moment. And then take a moment to notice the quality of your mind. Just noticing what thoughts are present. Start to notice if you can detect an emotional tone or a feeling tone. And then when you feel ready, let's find your way up to a seated position. So you can sit in Vajrasana, thunderbolt pose like I'm sitting, or you can sit on your bottoms if that's more comfortable. We'll bring our palms together, Anjali, Mudra, prayer position. And take a moment to consider your intention. What's your short-term intention for the practice today? What do you need from your practice to bring you into a state of harmony or a state of balance? And then taking a moment to consider your longer-term intention. Where do you hope the practice will take you in the long run? What is it that you hope to manifest or release through your practice of yoga? Trusting that this practice will serve your highest intention. Let's seal that intention and set the context for the rest of practice by a few rounds of conscious breathing. So on your next inhalation, take a deep full inhalation in through your nose. And on your exhalation, go ahead and release the breath, maybe with an open mouth and an unforced audible sigh, if that will help you to release anything that you'd rather not carry with you for the next hour or so. So continuing to make the breath a little slower, a little more full on the inhalation, and a little more complete on the exhalation. Let's continue breathing in that way, but see if you can breathe in and out through your nose. Maybe adding the Ujjayi pranayama if it's in your practice, forming that slight constriction at the back of your throat so that you can hear the air moving in and out through your throat as you breathe in and out through your nose. When you feel ready, go ahead and slowly open your eyes. We'll come forward onto hands and knees to find a neutral tabletop position. So we'll start with the wrists below the shoulders, knees below the hips, tops of the feet can be flat on the mat, or you can curl your toes under for now. And then on your next exhalation, just rock back towards child's pose. And then use your inhalation to bring you back forward into table, but look forward past the front of your mat and form a slight arch in your back. And just keep moving this way with your own breath. Exhaling down and inhaling up. And as you continue to move, you may find that after a few rounds when you come forward, it might feel good to move a little bit further forward than your neutral table, moving into kind of more of a modified up dog shape. But only start to move in this direction if it feels useful for you in your body today at this time. Remember that it's not about trying to get into the deepest position possible so much as it is about improving the quality of the movement with each repetition. Smoothing out those kinks in the kinetic chain as we move and breathe. And the next time you come forward into your neutral table, go ahead and make any adjustments you may need in case your position is shifted at all to bring your wrists below your shoulders, again, knees below the hips. And we'll make some circles with our rib cage. So this is a little different than making circles with your hips. We're going to start by moving our rib cage. We'll go to the left first, and then allowing your chest just to drop, keeping the arms straight through the whole movement, and then moving the rib cage over to the right, and then moving the rib cage up, doming the upper back. So see if you can start to make this circular movement. And really see if you can focus the movement on that thoracic spine. So focusing on moving the rib cage. And you may find it's useful to imagine a particular point right in the middle of your spine, in the mid-back, and see if you can imagine that you're moving that in a circle perpendicular to your mat. And then switching directions. Coming back either to seated or standing on your knees, weave your fingers together, we'll roll out the wrists, bring your elbows about level with your shoulders, maybe close your eyes and put your mind into the wrist joint. Imagine that you're building some heat, or feel rather that you're building some heat in the wrist joint. And then switching directions. And then one more for the wrists. We'll start with the hands facing up toward the ceiling, and then bring your pinkies together. Roll your fingers down, and then out, and then hands come together, pinkies come together, hands, fingers come up, and then down. Just keep moving like this. Reversing the direction. onto your mat, finding that neutral tabletop position. Let's press back into downward facing dog. So from your downward facing dog, pedal out your feet, shift your hips side to side, continue with your breathing, just feeling it out, first downward facing dog of the day. And then coming back into neutral, you shift forward into plank position. And we're going to modify the plank today slightly. We're going to move into what we sometimes call a hollow body plank. So instead of keeping your chest level with your shoulders, imagine that you're doming the upper back, or rather feel that you're doming the upper back. Shoulder blades are lifting. Tuck the chin. And we'll walk our feet in toward one another so that the toes come to touch, ankles come to touch. Squeeze the inner leg line together. Really focus on lifting through that upper back, really turning on the front body. So hips are lifted, core is lifted, heels may be over the toes today, shoulders may be slightly in front of the wrists. Keep lifting through that upper back, keep breathing. Stay here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then from here let's soften. We're going to lower down either in plank or knees, chest, chin. All right, bringing both arms down alongside of your hips, palms facing up towards the ceiling. Press down through the back of your hands and use your inhalation to lift your head, lift your chest, and then exhale, lower down. We'll just keep moving this way. A few rounds of breath. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Moving through an Armless Cobra variation. The next time you inhale, let's stay lifted in the chest. Pick up your feet, pick up your knees as well. And we'll move into this modified Bhujangasana. So continue extending through your toe tips, lengthen out through the crown of your head. And keep pressing the back of your hands down into the mat for now. See if you can feel that subtle rebounding feeling. Continue breathing. Good, then on your exhalation, let's go ahead and lower all the way down to the mat. We'll walk our hands out in front of our shoulders. Bring your palms down flat on the ground and then press down through your palms. Lift your chest. Elbows lift up off the ground, lifting through the crown of the head. Shoulder blade squeezes together. Breathing here. Next exhalation, let's lower all the way down to the ground. Walk your hands back so that the heel of your hands is about level with your low ribs, and then press down through your hands, moving up through neutral table and back into downward facing dog. From your downward facing dog, let's pick up the left foot, just drop it behind the right. Continue pressing down through the left hand, feeling that length on the left side body. And then coming back through neutral, we'll switch to the other side. So right foot drops behind the left, press down through the right hand, feel that length on the right side body. And then find your way back to your neutral downward facing dog. Take an inhale here, and on your exhalation, walk your feet up towards your hands. We'll meet in a bent knee forward fold at the front of the mat. Bend your knees enough that you can feel your rib cage making contact with your thighs. You want to allow the low back to traction out safely. Remember, we're not trying to wrench open the hamstrings here. Your hands can be on the floor. You can grab for your opposite elbow with your opposite hand. You can bring your hand to the back of the legs. You can even grab for your opposite elbow behind your legs if that feels good to you today. All right, then releasing both hands back down to the mat. Use your inhalation to find your flat back, half lift. Legs probably straighten a little bit. See if you can find some more length in the neck. Bring your attention to your heels and start to drag them isometrically toward the long edges of your mat. Feel those outer hips turn on. Continue with your breathing practice. And then on your exhalation, go ahead and forward fold, release. And inhale, come all the way up to standing. So we'll sweep the arms out and up. Maybe palms come to touch overhead. Chest stays lifted, shoulders and shoulder blades sliding down the back. And then on your exhalation, we'll return to mountain pose. Let's move through a few rounds of Ardha Surya Namaskar. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold, hinge at the hips, bend your knees. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, reach up. Exhale, mountain pose. Let's keep moving that way. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, reach up. Exhale, mountain pose. Last round here. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, step your left foot back. Bring your left knee and the top of your left foot down to the mat. And then bring your hands to the top of your thigh. Weave your fingers together and lift your chest. Pressing down through the hands. See if you can find some extra lift through the crown of your head. And on your next exhalation, shift your weight forward just slightly, deepening the stretch. And then inhale back off a little bit. Let's move that way a few times with your own breath. Exhaling, shifting the weight forward, keeping the head and the chest lifted, and then inhaling back. Next time you come forward, you bring your left hand down underneath your shoulder. Curl your back toes under. Lift up your back knee and take a twist to your right. So still pressing down on top of that right thigh with the right hand. Continue breathing. And then extending the right arm up toward the ceiling. Let's reach over the ear toward the front of the mat. Lift your hips a little higher. Keep dropping the right shoulder away from the ear. Keep rotating the chest toward the right side of your mat. Continue breathing. Good. And then exhale, right hand down outside of the right foot. Step the back foot up to meet the front. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Step the right foot back this time. Right knee, top of the right foot, come down. Both hands come to the thigh. Weave your fingers together. Press down through the top of your thigh. Lift the chest. Lift the crown of the head. Breathing here. And then adding that movement with the breath. So on your next exhalation, just shift forward a little deeper in towards your edge, and then inhale back off. So again, not trying to get as deep as possible into the shape, but just exploring the edge of your range of motion as you come forward, backing off, and noticing what's at stake around this deep lunging pose. The next time you come forward, right hand comes down underneath the right shoulder. Keep the left hand where it is. Curl the back toes under. Lift the right knee up off the mat. Press down through the left hand and take a twist to your left. Continue breathing. If you want to extend your left arm up toward the ceiling, go ahead. And then reach over past the front of your mat. Keep the twist. Keep extending through the fingertips. Keep dropping the left shoulder away from the ears. Continue with your breathing practice. And then on your exhalation, bring your left hand down outside of your left foot. Step your front foot back to meet the back foot. Inhale the shoulders over the wrist. Exhale, lower down. Bring both hands forward. Tops of the feet come down flat on the mat. Inhale, lift up, press down through the hands. Elbows lift up off the mat. And then exhale, lower down. Slide your hands back. Heels of the hands level with the low ribs. Take an inhale here and then press yourself up, either through table or through plank, and return to downward facing dog. Breathing here. At the bottom of your next exhalation, pause the breath and step or hop your feet to the front of the mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, reach up. Exhale, mountain pose. All right, let's move through a modified Surya Namaskara A. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold, hinge at the hips. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, both hands down. Step the left foot back. Left knee, top of the left foot, come down. Inhale, rise up, low lunge. Exhale, both hands down to the mat. Step back into plank. Inhale the shoulders over the wrists. And exhale, lower down with control. Slide your hands forward to the shoulders. Press down through the hands. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, lower back down. Hands slide back. Toes curled under. Press yourself back up. And shift to downward facing dog. Take an inhale here. And at the bottom of your exhalation, step your left foot forward, right knee, top of the right foot, come down. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, both hands down. Step your back foot up to meet your front foot. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, reach up. Exhale, mountain pose. Other side. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, right foot back. Top of the right foot. Knee come down. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, both hands down and step back into plank. Inhale the shoulders over the wrists. Exhale, down with control. Hands slide forward. Inhale, press down through the hands. Lift the chest, lift the head. Exhale, lower back down. Slide the hands back. Press yourself back up into plank and shift yourself back for down dog. Take a resting breath here. And at the bottom of the exhalation, step your right foot forward. Left knee, top of the left foot, come down, low lunge. Exhale, both hands down to the mat. Step the back foot up to meet the front. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, reach up. Exhale, mountain pose. Let's go through that one more time each side. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, left foot back. Inhale, low lunge. Exhale, both hands down, step back into plank. Inhale the shoulders over the wrists. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, low cobra. Exhale, lower back down and return to downward facing dog. Resting breath here. At the bottom of the next exhalation, step the left foot forward. Inhale, low lunge. Exhale, both hands down to the mat. Step the back foot forward. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, reach up. Exhale, mountain pose. Second side, last time. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, right foot back. Inhale, low lunge. Exhale, both hands down to the mat. Step yourself back into plank. And inhale the shoulders over the wrists. Exhale, lower down with control. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, lower down and press yourself back to downward facing dog. Take an inhale here. And at the bottom of your next exhalation, step your right foot forward. Inhale, low lunge. Exhale, both hands down to the mat. Step the back foot up to meet the front. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, reach up. Exhale, mountain pose. Weaving both fingers together. Press your palms toward the ground and then raise your arms up overhead. Let's take a side bend over to the right. Breathing here. Good, and then coming back through neutral, we'll shift to the other side. Keep your chest square to the front of the mat. Continue breathing. Good, and then coming back through center, let's release both hands back down by your side, and then bring them out front, palms facing down toward the ground. You may want to widen your stance just slightly, maybe a little more than hip width apart. And on your exhalation, we'll lower down into a deep squat. Try to keep your heels on the ground as you go. So inhale, lowering down, and then inhale back up. Turn the palms up as you rise, down as you lower down. This time when you lower down, let's stay in the deep squat. So you may find that to stay in the deep squat, you need to create a little more space for yourself by opening up your stance a little bit more. So feel free to do so. And if you're balanced on the balls of your feet, that's okay as well. And let's hang out here for a moment, just letting the breath slow down and just observing what's present in the physical body as we breathe. Just notice what's happening in your hips, your low back. Continue breathing. Good, and then shifting forward towards crow pose or crane. If you have it in your practice, you can go ahead and move towards it in any way. If you're new to the practice, press your elbows into the creases of your knees. Squeeze your knees back onto your elbows. Create that isometric pressure between your elbows and your knees and start to feel that engagement in your low belly, the muscles above your pubic bone, as you shift forward onto your hands. Eye gaze travels forward. Maybe your toes tip up. Maybe they stay on the ground today. Taking a little weight in the wrists, the forearms, the upper arms as well. Continue breathing. Good, and then lowering back down into your squat. Let's sit back down on our bottoms. And we'll extend both legs long out on the mat in front of you. Bring your hands down alongside your hips. Lift up through the chest. Dandasana, staff pose. And as you come into your staff pose, I'm going to invite you to think about spreading your toes so that you can feel your feet waking up all the way to the end of the kinetic chain. So feet are flexed, toes are pointing back toward the knees. Toes are spread nice and wide. Finding that internal rotation of the thighs, lifting up through the chest, lengthening the spine. Chin is slightly tucked. Shoulder blades drawing together. Pressing the fingertips down into the mat, beside the hips. And then on your next inhalation, let's go ahead and forward fold toward Paschimottanasana. Hands sliding down along the ground next to your legs. And then if you want to move into the bind, you can bend your knees slightly if that helps you. Go slow, just inviting the low back, inviting the back of the legs, the entire back body just to lengthen out as you breathe. You may find after a few breaths that as your body relaxes into the posture, you may have a little bit more space to move into the pose. So, again, not trying to get into the pose as deeply as possible necessarily at all, let alone right away. See if you can bring your attention to those places where you feel the most tension and just allow the energy of the breath to move in there, being very respectful of your edge and not trying to force yourself past a range of motion where you can comfortably support your breathing. When you're ready, let's go ahead and come on back up. We'll bring the feet about hip width apart, or mat width apart rather. Hands come behind you to support the hips. And on your exhalation, just take both knees over to the right. And then inhale back to center. And on your exhalation, both knees come over to the left. And just move this way with your own breath. Try to keep your feet and your hips in the same place that you started. And it's okay if your knees don't come all the way down to the ground. And if you find you can move in this way easily, you may want to experiment with taking your hands out. So you can reach forward and round the upper back a little bit. It tends to make it easier to move. And then if you find that this movement is rather easy for you, you can practice coming to standing on your knees. So rising up and then lowering back down, switching sides, continue breathing. Once you've done both sides an equal number of times, let's find your way back to the center of the mat. Lower back down. Squeeze your knees into your chest. Tuck your chin. Flex your feet. Roll up into a little ball. Good. And then bring both feet down to your mat about a hip's width apart. Hands come down beside the hips. Use your inhalation to lift your hips and lift your hands. So at the top of the inhalation, the back of your hands will touch the mat behind you. Your hips will be high. And then on your exhalation, let's go ahead and lower back down. Just keep moving this way with your own breath. And the next time you lower down, we're prepared for a static variation of bridge. So when you're ready, press up through the hips. Lift those points of your hips up high. Press down through your feet, really grounding down through the heel and the midfoot. As you press, feel the back body engaging the glutes, the hamstrings. And just allowing the front of the body to open up. After a couple of breaths, if you feel like weaving your fingers together and rolling onto the outsides of your shoulders, you can give that a try. Feeling the
thoracic spine, lift up off of the mat as well. Continue pressing down through both legs, continue breathing, allowing the back of the neck to open up. And then when you're ready, let's go ahead and lower back down. Might feel good to let your knees knock together, or maybe window wipe your knees side to side. Another option is just to press your low back down into the mat, feeling the engagement of those muscles over your pubic bone and the muscles in the deep belly as well. And coming back to a neutral spine, feet stay about hip width apart. Press down through the feet, lift the hips, and if you feel like weaving your fingers together again, give it a try. Roll onto the outside of the shoulders, lift the chest, continue breathing. And then on your next exhalation, let's go ahead and lower down. So if you feel like doing some more back bending out of this bridge shape, you can feel free to go ahead. We're going to move on to take some twists for the back body. We'll start with a Garuda twist. So crossing your left leg over your right up high. Maybe seeing if you can tuck the toes of the left foot behind the back of your right ankle. And then from here, pick up your hips and shift them over to the left, and then just allow your knees to fall over to the right. You can see I've got my left arm extended, palm facing up. Might feel good to turn and look toward the left hand. Wherever you're at, continue with your breathing practice. Good, and then coming back through center, we'll shift to the other side. So uncross your legs, and then recross your legs in the opposite direction. This time, right over left, maybe double crossing the leg by tucking the toes of the right foot under, hips shift over to the right, knees fall to the left. Right arm can stay extended, maybe turning the eye gaze to look toward the right hand. Continue breathing. And then when you feel ready, we'll come back through center. Let your feet come down to the mat. Let your knees come together. Take a moment to check in and see if there's anything that you have left to do in your body before you move on to your final rest. If there is, feel free to take a minute or two now to work on whatever you'd like to work on, assuming that you're ready to move into your Shavasana. You can find a position that's going to serve you for your final rest, making sure that you choose a position that doesn't require any effort on your part, one that will allow you just to sink into your mat, surrender any attempt to try to make anything happen or be anything in particular, and just allow yourself to receive the practice. And as we did at the beginning of class, you may find it helpful just to remind yourself that you're shifting into that observational frame of mind, one where you're watching moment by moment what arises within your field of experience, and doing your best to refrain from engaging with it in any way to try to alter it or change the course of your experience. And if you do find yourself getting carried away on a train of thought or getting fixated on some sensation or idea, Just bring yourself back to the experience of your physical body. Feel your breath. And see if you can just follow that along until it starts to feel natural to even let go of that and receive the practice that you've just done. So if you feel like you would like to stay in your final resting pose for a little bit longer, feel free to pause the video and stay here for as long as you like. But if you are ready to come up, practice some pranayama before we close, then when you're ready, you can start to wiggle your fingers and your toes, and then gradually add back some movement for your wrists and your ankles until you feel ready to bend through your knees and roll to one side or the other, using the strength of your arms to press yourself up to a comfortable seat. And as you come into your comfortable seat, make sure that you can support your upright and neutral spine. So if that means adding some height underneath your hips in the form of a block or a bolster or a folded blanket, take a moment to prop yourself up in any way that's going to allow you to sit comfortably without strain. Once you settle into that shape, just check to make sure that you're balanced left to right on your sits bones. Make sure that you're supporting that slight anterior or forward tilt of the pelvis. Allow your belly to relax, the muscles over the pubic bone. Make sure there's no gripping in the low belly. Chest is lifted. Chin is slightly tucked. Shoulder blades are melting down the back. Shoulders are relaxed. Hands are resting comfortably anywhere on your lap. Now bring your attention to your breath as it enters and exits at the tip of your nose. We're not doing anything to manipulate your breathing at this moment, just observing your natural pattern of breathing. And then on your next inhalation, let's add a count to make the inhalations and the exhalations last the same amount of time. So if you inhale for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4. If you inhale for a count of 9, exhale for a count of 9. Want to find a comfortable rhythm, start to establish that Samavriti pattern of breathing, making the inhalations and the exhalations last the same amount of time. bottom of your next exhalation, release the count, release the technique. Just allow your breathing to settle into any pattern that feels right and easy for you. And bring your attention to your mind. I'm going to engage with the practice of open awareness. So see if you can just refrain from allowing your attention to fix on any particular thing that arises within the field of your experience, whether that's a thought or a sensation, a feeling, a memory, an idea. And if you find that you get fixated on something in particular and get carried away on a train of thought, just notice that it's happened and allow yourself to return back to this practice of open awareness. Just allowing your attention to move where it will. And resting back into that identity with your awareness. Bringing your palms together in Anjali Mudra, prayer position at the level of your heart. Let's take one final moment to enjoy the peace that you have created through your practice of yoga. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace for ourselves, peace for our communities, peace for all beings everywhere. Thanks for practicing, everyone. I hope this hit you in a way that was useful for you today. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And if there's anything you'd like to see, you can mention that as well. Ideas for future videos. And I hope everyone has a great start to the new year, and I hope to see you back here soon. Thanks a lot.